It's a lovely day for racing here at Kyalami 1967 as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. MkII is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. Stefano MkII is on his first practice flying lap. Kevin just posted a 1:19.261 crossing start finish. Kevin MkII has a best lap time of 1:18.872. With just 3 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
MkII is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
Simon of the Desert is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Kyalami 1967 as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Wilson is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. Ryan Wilson is in Barbecue Bend. Stefano MkII is on his first practice flying lap. MkII is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. Ryan Wilson is in Sunset Bend. Ryan Wilson is on his first practice flying lap. Wilson is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. David Zahn has a best lap time of 1:18.615.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
David just posted a 1:19.698 crossing start finish. David Zahn has a best lap time of 1:18.615. Bjorn Hemmen posted 1:24.330 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
With just 0 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Bjorn Hemmen just posted a 1:24.330 crossing start finish.
Bjorn Hemmen is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
MkII has a best lap time of 1:20.309. MkII has a best lap time of 1:20.309. Exotic Streaming is on his practice out lap. It's time to separate the contenders from the pretenders here at Kyalami 1967, as the drivers rev up their engines and put their skills to the test in the qualifying session.
The pressure is on to set the fastest lap times. Will it push these drivers to focus or to failure?
Kevin MkII is on his out lap. The adrenaline is pumping. MkII is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. MkII is driving through Barbecue Bend. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Clubhouse Bend.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
You can feel the tension building. MkII is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time.
This is the moment he's been preparing for. Let's see if he can execute.
MkII is expertly commanding that car through the S's.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
This is where the mental game comes into play. MkII is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if MkII can deliver.
MkII is working his way through Jukske sweep.
There's not much better than sitting near here and watching the cars speed by.
MkII is looking relatively composed going through the S's. It's all about strategy in these early moments. MkII is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run and get everything just right. MkII appears focused and prepared driving through Crowthorne Corner.
Don't forget to check out the views near Crowthorne Corner. They are fantastic.
Kevin MkII will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Barbecue Bend.
Fuel, fumes, fans, and fights. Barbecue Bend has it all.
The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but MkII is rising to the occasion.
It's always impressive to see a driver in the zone like this. Let's see if he can maintain this pace.
MkII has improved by 1.09 up through Sunset Bend.
If MkII looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
David Zahn is on his first flying lap.
Let's see if he can put a good marker down.
It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Kevin Lekmanski is nailing both.
Kevin is indeed a rare breed. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
This is what it's all about. David Zahn is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session. David Zahn has completed that flying lap in 1:18.812, which is good enough for P2, down 0.494 to the leader. There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. Bjorn Hemmen has just completed that lap in 1:20.260, which is 1.942 off the best time, putting him in P6. It's clear that Ryan Wilson is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap. Ryan Wilson just clocked a 1:18.428, 0.11 off of P1 and good enough for P2. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. Sketty will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
Sketty is 24.83 up driving through Liukop Bend. Sketty has completed that flying lap in 1:20.661, which is good enough for P8, down 2.343 to the leader. Simon of the Desert is up 0.8. Simon of the Desert will be happy, with a time good enough for 5th in this qualifying session. Sketty is expertly commanding that car through Juxke sweep. Sketty is keeping his head down through the S's.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Sketty has some work to do, as his best time of 1:19.888 is only good enough for 7th.
There's at least 1.57 seconds to be found, but Sketty may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Sketty is looking relatively composed going through Crowthorne Corner. Crow is on his first flying lap. Crow is working his way through Juxke sweep.
If Crow listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through the S's.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at the S's.
Kevin Lekmanski is driving through Clubhouse Bend.
I have always loved this section of the track.
Ryan Wilson has found an extra 0.19. Ryan Wilson is driving through Clubhouse Bend and is up 0.1.
All we can do now is wish Wilson luck as the start-finish line approaches.
Sketty is up 0.23. Sketty appears focused and prepared driving through Liukop Bend.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Bjorn Hemmen has just completed that lap in 1:20.260, which is 1.942 off the best time, putting him in P6. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Crow looks to be off the pace. Ada, what can he do to improve?
Good question, how? It's all or nothing now. He'll need to stay focused, hit the brake markers, and extract every ounce of performance from that car to move up the grid.
Crow has some work to do, as his best time of 1:21.703 is only good enough for ninth.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 3.507 gap to pole.
Simon of the Desert is now up 0.19 in Crowthorne Corner. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Jake Feemster is nailing both. Jake Feemster is keeping his head down through Crowthorne Corner.
The ASRL T70 MkII Spyder is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
Simon of the Desert has improved by 0.28. Bjorn Hemmen has found an extra 0.1. Bjorn Hemmen is looking relatively composed going through Crowthorne Corner.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Crowthorne Corner with a nice drink and some friends.
Ryan Wilson is in the green by 0.36, making his way through Liukop Bend.
The rest of this lap is no cakewalk. Let's hope he can keep it up.
Ryan Wilson is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:17.893. Simon of the Desert is up 0.21. Simon of the Desert has improved by 0.26 up through the S's.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
David Zahn is in the green by 0.14. David Zahn will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session. Bjorn Hemmen has improved by 0.22. Bjorn Hemmen is expertly commanding that car through Barbecue Bend.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
Simon of the Desert has found an extra 0.31. Simon of the Desert is currently up 0.31 going through Liukop Bend. Simon of the Desert will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 0.582 gap to pole.
And there goes Stefano Amadei, currently in P7. He's shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still a chance to improve on that time.
Spot on analysis. How? Stefano is positioned well in 7th. It's crucial for him to maintain his focus and defend his position in the upcoming race.
Incredible drive by Bjorn Hemmen so far, earning him ninth. The competition is fierce, however, and he'll need to quickly find more time to get even closer to the sharp end of the grid.
I completely agree, Hal. Bjorn Hemmen has plenty of opportunity starting in ninth. However, it's crucial for him to keep pushing and make up some positions in the race.
Bjorn Hemmen is driving through the S's.
Fans sitting near the S's get some of the best views of the action.
Bjorn Hemmen has some work to do, as his best time of 1:19.877 is only good enough for ninth.
There's at least 1.984 seconds to be found, but Bjorn Hemmen may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Skedi is currently in 8th during qualifying. The challenge now is to assess his competitors and strategize how to move up the order for a better race start. It's an impressive showing by Crow, currently in 10th. He's showcased his talent, but will need to find those crucial extra tenths to climb higher. Crow is 1.68 up driving through the S's. Crow has some work to do, as his best time of 1:19.820 is only good enough for ninth.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 1.927 gap to pole.
A strong showing from Jake Feemster as he's currently in 6th. With the session drawing to a close, he'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve. Jake Feemster has some work to do, as his best time of 1:18.830 is only good enough for 6th.
There's at least 0.937 seconds to be found, but Feemster may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Currently in 9th, Crow has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real test lies in whether he can convert this performance into a higher grid position. Crow has some work to do, as his best time of 1:19.820 is only good enough for 9th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 1.927 gap to pole.
It's a very still day here at Kyalami 1967, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Ryan Wilson will be looking to convert his pole position into a win.
It's also a nightmare if he can't hold onto it. Let's see how he will handle the pressure.
Kevin Lechtmanski has a great opportunity starting on the front row.
This is a great place to be, but there's always the threat of drivers right behind getting a better start and a slipstream into the first turn.
Coming in at 3rd, we have Simon of the Desert.
Big things expected for Simon today.
Malero lines up in 4th place as the engines rev and the race begins.
A strong grid position, and he'll be expecting a solid result today.
It's David Zahn, sitting comfortably in 5th.
David will be taking no prisoners today.
Taking the 6th spot is Jake Feemster.
Jake will be expecting to bring home solid points.
As the engines roar to life, Skedi prepares to take off from the 7th position on the starting grid. In the middle of the pack, we have Stefano Amadei starting from the 8th position on the grid. On the 9th grid slot we have Crow. Bjorn Hemmen will be looking to gain ground quickly starting from 10th on the grid.
Who knows, Bjorn Hemmen could be the dark horse that steals the show.
The green flag is out and we're racing. Time for the drivers to put their foot down.
Maintaining a safe distance while still pushing for position is a delicate balance. Experience and composure will be vital in these opening moments.
The tensions are high, and no one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap.
What a beautiful day for racing here at Kyalami 1967. This is going to be good to watch.
Every lap is an opportunity for MkII to learn just a little bit more to shave a few tenths or hundredths off his times. The pressure is on when the field is this tightly packed. Maintaining just enough aggression to hold off their rivals without pushing too hard will help these drivers keep it clean. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
I for one am really excited how the rivalry between Ryan and Kevin has been building before the race, and this is where scores are settled.
There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is feeling out the drivers around them.
I'm looking forward to this one how. Maybe we'll see a return to form for Jake in this outing in South Africa.
As the tires come up to temp, their available grip is changing, and the drivers that manage this transition best are likely to make progress through the field.
The drivers are walking a fine line during the first lap melee as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
It looks like we might get a battle between Crow and Stefano Amadei. The adrenaline is pumping as Sketty gets within striking distance of Simon of the Desert in their race for third. Braking alert. It's looking good for Sketty, who has gained a place after passing Simon of the Desert. MkII has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Bjorn Hemmen. I expect his only hope at this point is that Bjorn Hemmen makes an error. Looks like that's a mistake from Stefano Amadei. This could be costly. Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Wilson is just a few car lengths behind Kevin Lekmanski.
The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds. Can Ryan close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
This is a thrilling battle as David Zahn edges closer to Stefano Amadei in their fight for P9. David Zahn is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Stefano Amadei at the moment.
Zahn really needs to push in Clubhouse Bend to gain some ground before Stefano drives off into the sunset.
Crow is running fourth, and trying to catch Bjorn Hemmen. Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Simon of the Desert in seventh and Ryan Wilson. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds.
That's right, Simon is showing some great form and it looks like Wilson won't be able to catch up, barring any mistakes.
The gap between Bjorn Hemmen and Crow is razor thin as they vie for third in this nail-biting contest. Wait. A great moment for Bjorn Hemmen, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Heartbreak for Bjorn Hemmen as they slip down the field.
Yes, but he can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Bjorn Hemmen needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
It's an intense battle for position as Kevin Lekmanski tries to outmaneuver MkII. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. Kevin Lekmanski is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to MkII to 0.1 seconds.
That's a great effort from Lekmanski. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them valuable time, and the position.
Breaking news, folks. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 1967.
Bjorn Hemmen is not going to be happy about that.
It's all eyes on this battle as Kevin Lekmanski in fifth tries to hold off the challenge of Ryan Wilson.
Absolutely. Kevin is really making that car as wide as possible, not giving Wilson an inch of space. It's going to take something special for Wilson to get past him.
Ryan Wilson is looking for an opportunity to get around Kevin Lekmanski.
He'll need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much grass will slow you down.
The race is really heating up. Stefano Amadei is hunting down David Zahn with everything he's got. Every move counts now as Bjorn Hemmen works to reel in Stefano Amadei and overtake for P9.
Bjorn Hemmen is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder like a boss.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
Wilson is so close to Kevin that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
Looks like Simon of the Desert is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. We'll have to wait to see if Simon can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Ryan Wilson is right behind Kevin Lekmanski, keeping the pressure on for fourth place. Hold that thought. Superb driving from Ryan Wilson, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
You can't argue with results like that. Wilson is really making his mark on this race.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Kevin Lekmanski is right on the heels of Ryan Wilson, and we're in for a wild ride.
If Lekmanski gets any closer, he might as well ask Ryan for a piggyback ride.
The intensity is off the charts as Simon of the Desert hounds Malero, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Ryan Wilson wants to close that gap with Kevin Lekmanski.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
Simon of the Desert is on a mission, chasing Malero, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
It's game on now. Simon of the Desert has closed the gap to Malero. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
The battle for P4 is heating up as Ryan Wilson tries to catch Kevin Lekmanski in P4.
I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
The pressure is on as Simon of the Desert tries to catch up to Malero. The gap between Simon of the Desert and Malero is widening. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. Ryan Wilson is trying his best to catch Kevin Lekmanski. Ryan Wilson is on a charge. His split time shows he's upped his pace. You know, Ada, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
This is getting exciting. Ryan Wilson is looking for any gap that might open up the position. This is where the race gets really interesting. Ryan Wilson is closing in on Kevin Lekmanski.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Ryan should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Kevin.
The action is heating up here as Kevin Lekmanski is in fourth, defending from Ryan Wilson, who is only 0.4 seconds away. It seems like Kevin Lekmanski is on fire. He's just put in his best lap. The pursuit is on. Ryan Wilson is closing the gap on Kevin Lekmanski, determined to claim P4. Kevin Lekmanski is placed fourth at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Ryan Wilson, who is 0.3 seconds behind.
Surely he's got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
Wait, what a move. Kevin Lekmanski has moved up to third.
Absolutely. Lekmanski is really putting on a clinic out there, and he's making it look easy.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall.
It's not going to plan for Crow, who is trailing behind Ryan Wilson and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Oh, this is getting intense. Malero needs to keep Crow in his sights.
I would not be surprised to see him challenge for the position.
The gap between Malero and Crow is getting smaller. Ada, what's the impact of tire degradation on race strategy? How does it affect a driver's approach to the race?
Tire degradation plays a crucial role in race strategy. How? Teams and drivers have to consider the optimal time to pit for fresh tires and adjust their race pace to balance speed with tire conservation. It adds another layer of complexity to the racing challenge.
The pressure is on as Ryan Wilson works on catching up to Kevin Lekmanski. Things are heating up as Malero tries to close the gap to Crow.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Malero needs to stay patient and wait for Crow to make a mistake.
The gap between Malero and Crow is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. Ryan Wilson is giving it his all chasing down Kevin Lekmanski in P3. The drivers are getting faster as they settle into their cars and get used to the conditions, with Ryan Wilson just putting in his best lap so far with a 1 minute.
The more laps they do, the faster these guys get. This should make for some great racing, Hal.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Malero needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
The only thing closer than Malero to Crow right now is the paint on their cars. Talk about a close encounter.
It's not looking good for Malero, who is still behind Crow, and the gap is increasing.
Malero needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
Hey, Ada, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Hal, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
Simon of the Desert is running 7th and trying to catch Malero.
The gap between them is now just over 0.4 seconds.
This is going to be a nail-biter. Malero is defending for his life, but Simon of the Desert is right there doing everything he can to force a mistake.
Malero is doing a great job of defending in the lead, and Simon is pushing hard to close the gap. It's an exciting race and it's not over yet.
This is a thrilling battle as Simon of the Desert edges closer to Malero in their fight for P6.
The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
It's certainly not going to plan for Simon of the Desert right now, who is struggling to keep up with Malero. The pursuit is on. Malero is working on that gap to Crow, determined to claim P5. It seems like Malero is pushing hard, currently on track to record his best lap so far this race.
Malero appears to be pushing. Hopefully he can keep it together.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Ryan Wilson as there is a big gap ahead.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
Good news for Ryan Wilson, the gap to Kevin Lekmanski has decreased. It's now down to 0.9 seconds. It may seem like Simon of the Desert is far behind, but Malero can't afford to let his guard down. One mistake could give Simon of the Desert an opening to catch up. Hold up, breaking info. This is a tough break for Malero. He just lost P6 to Simon of the Desert.
That's some bad luck for Malero. He just couldn't hold onto it, but he can always regroup and get on the attack. That's right, and Simon knows to keep pushing hard and driving his own race. He can't let Malero off the hook.
Malero has just dropped the ball. Simon of the Desert didn't waste any time taking advantage of that. Ryan Wilson is running fourth, and trying to keep up with Kevin Lekmanski.
Absolutely. Precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
It looks like Ryan Wilson is making a move. The gap to Kevin Lekmanski is now down to 0.8 seconds.
Exactly what Wilson needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Lekmanski.
Ryan Wilson is on a mission, chasing Kevin Lekmanski, who's currently got a comfortable lead.
It's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Sketty is placed second at the moment.
Yes, but Sketty has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
A commanding performance from Sketty, who has increased his lead over Kevin Lekmanski, putting him firmly in his rearview mirrors. Ryan Wilson is staying focused while chasing Kevin Lekmanski in P3.
The gap is 0.7 seconds now. Ryan is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Lekmanski.
It looks like we might get a battle between Ryan Wilson and Kevin Lekmanski. The race is really heating up. Ryan Wilson is hunting down Kevin Lekmanski with everything he's got. Things are going according to plan for Jake Feemster, who is currently first. Impressive driving from Jake Feemster, who has managed to extend his lead over Sketty. It looks like Sketty will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground. Looks like Ryan Wilson is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer.
It's game on now. Ryan Wilson has closed the gap to Kevin Lekmanski. It's now down to 0.2 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
I love being here at Kyalami 1967. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Hal, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a moment.
Crow is pushing to maintain the lead, while Simon of the Desert is working to close in and challenge for the position.
This is where experience comes into play. Crow has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Simon is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
Look at that, Ryan Wilson is hot on the tail of Kevin Lekmanski. That won't be ideal for Malero.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race he'd been looking at a decent result.
Ryan Wilson wants to get into Kevin Lekmanski's slipstream.
Rubbing's racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
The gap between Ryan Wilson and Kevin Lekmanski is getting smaller. Breaking news, folks. Fantastic move from Ryan Wilson, who has just gained a position.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about. He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
We got a close battle as Kevin Lekmanski closes in on Ryan Wilson. Hold the phone. Oh dear, Simon of the Desert has had an incident.
It looks like Kevin wants to take a cheeky peek up the inside.
No room for error here. Kevin Lekmanski is breathing down the neck of Ryan Wilson, waiting for the perfect chance to make his move. Kevin Lekmanski is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Ryan Wilson at the moment.
It's not over yet, but Lekmanski needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Wilson.
The gap between Ryan Wilson and Crow is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Ryan Wilson to bring Crow into play.
Absolutely right, Hal, and Crow knows he's got to keep driving at his best and take advantage of any opportunity that comes his way.
The battle for P4 is heating up as Crow tries to catch Ryan Wilson in P4. Crow is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Ryan Wilson to 0.3 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
Stefano Amadei is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to Bjorn Hemmen. There's 20 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
Anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Stefano pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if he can do it again.
It looks like Stefano Amadei is making a move. The gap to Bjorn Hemmen is now down to 16.7 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
It's a brilliant day for racing here at Kyalami 1967. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing this spectacle.
Things don't seem to be going Crow's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. The gap between Jake Feemster and Sketty is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Jake to even allow Sketty to get a look in. Sketty could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than Jake Feemster.
The question now is, can Feemster respond to that and pick up the pace? I'm not so sure.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Ryan Wilson, who is currently in P4. The gap between Ryan Wilson and Kevin Lekmanski is widening. It's now up to 1.6 seconds.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Sketty trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Jake Feemster. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Sketty in second determined to catch up.
It looks like we might get a battle between Sketty and Jake Feemster.
Exactly what Sketty needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Feemster.
Crow has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Ryan Wilson. I expect his only hope at this point is that Ryan makes an error. Crow is on a charge. His split time shows he's upped his pace. This race is getting even more intense. The drivers are pushing each other to the limit.
It's like they're playing a game of chicken, but with cars. And the winner gets to take home the checkered flag and bragging rights.
That's one way to put it. These drivers have to be in top physical and mental shape to compete at this level.
It's like they're training for the Olympics. And like you said, the mental fortitude required to stay focused and alert for the entire race is wild.
I think I need a nap just watching them. What a win. This is a historic moment for Jake Feemster, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision.
You could feel the tension building throughout the race, but Jake remained focused and in control. That's what separates the winners from the pack.
A nail-biting finish, but Sketty claims second place.
Brilliant. Sketty showed great skill and determination to take second place.
What a race from Kevin Lekmanski. He kept his cool and secured a well-earned third place on the podium. Taking fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh is Ryan Wilson, Crow, David Zahn, and Simon of the Desert. Finishing eighth is Malero. Ninth is Bjorn Hemmen. Stefano Amadei claimed 10th. Stop the press. Stefano Amadei has decided to pit. It's a beautifully calm day here at Kyalami 1967, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
Stefano Amadei is starting this race on pole.
He can't get cocky. This is ASRL, and anything can happen.
Starting on the front row gives Bjorn Hemmen the best possible chance at challenging for the lead.
He can't let that advantage go to waste. He will need to stay focused and keep his eyes on the prize.
Malero will look to make a splash from the third position on the starting grid.
The Brazilian driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Lining up in fourth is Simon of the Desert.
It's not always easy to get the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder this high up the starting grid.
The fifth position is occupied by David Zahn.
He's going to have to be quick out of the blocks to keep up with the top performers.
Crow is going to be starting from sixth.
Another good start for the Belarusian driver.
Ryan Wilson is seventh.
It's the standards tire compounds for Ryan.
Kevin Lekmanski has qualified eighth. From the middle of the pack, we have Sketty in ninth place on the starting grid. Our 10th place starter, Jake Feemster, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
Another mid-pack start for Feemster.
And we have lift off. The race is now underway. This first sector will test the driver's skills and their ability to stay focused.
With adrenaline running high, some drivers may take unnecessary risks. Staying patient and knowing when to make a move is essential for a strong start.
It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today.
Like gladiators they enter Hal, but instead of lions and swords our champions fight in an arena of tarmac, and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Kyalami 1967, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
Every corner, every lap, and every race is a chance for these drivers to hone their abilities and improve their skills.
Kevin Lekmanski has nailed the start, gaining places early on, so he should be pleased with that.
That certainly gives Kevin an early advantage. Let's see if he can put it to good use.
Out of the gates, and Jake Feemster is already turning heads and gaining positions.
It's like Feemster had an extra helping of determination for breakfast. Let's see if he can keep up this pace for the whole race.
Ryan Wilson has got off to a great early start, already gaining places. Gotta be very pleased with that.
Like the Cheshire Cat, Wilson must be grinning from ear to ear, waiting for the perfect time to pounce.
Great driving from Ryan Wilson, who has just gained a place and moved up to first. Stop the press. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Stefano Amadei gaining places and Ryan Wilson losing them.
Yes, but Stefano can't rest on his laurels, but needs to keep pushing to consolidate his position.
It's a game of inches now as Stefano Amadei tails Ryan Wilson closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
When I was racing, we had a saying, If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Stefano is definitely living on the edge today.
Braking alert. The safety car is out on track, bringing the pack under control as we deal with some debris on the circuit.
This could be an opportunity for some drivers to pit ahead of the pack.
Of course, the safety car can really shake up the race order. Drivers need to stay alert and be ready to react as soon as we get the green light.
It's a tricky balance. They don't want to waste too much time behind the safety car, but they also don't want to burn out their tires too quickly trying to catch up.
It's a close race between Skedy and Kevin Lekmanski in third.
This is what makes motor racing so exciting. The tension is high and the stakes are even higher. I would not bet on either racer at this point, as it's too close to call.
Green flag. The wait is over, and the race resumes. Crow is trying his best to catch Skedy.
No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
Bjorn Hemmen is looking to take advantage of that slipstream being so close to Jake Feemster. That's going to provide the extra speed to challenge for the position. The pressure is on, but these drivers are showing tremendous respect for each other while going all out. It's a masterclass in clean, hard racing. Stop the press. The battle is on for Skedy. He's sandwiched between two rivals, Malero 0.2 seconds away and Crow 0.1 seconds ahead. It's a true test of his racecraft.
You hit the nail on the head, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are crucial pieces of information for Skedy's race strategy. It's a delicate dance, and he must remain vigilant.
Huge shout out to the admins at ASRL for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event. Braking alert. Talk about pressure. Skedy is caught in the middle, feeling the heat from both Malero and Crow.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is electric. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
Hold on a moment. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The pressure is on as Crow tries to catch up to Skedy.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Crow is really walking that fine line.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Jake Feemster is closing in on Crow.
It's a game of strategy now as Feemster hunts down Crow. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Coming into Crowathorn Corner, the fight for first is heating up. Neither driver wants to be the first to blink.
There's blood in the water for first place.
This one's going to be tough. Skedy is getting his elbows out, and there may not be enough time left for Crow to make a move.
It's not over yet. Crow is right on Skedy's tail, and if he can find just a little bit of extra speed, he might be able to make a move.
Braking update. An impressive showing from Skedy, who has gained positions and left Crow in the dust. Stefano Amadei is holding third, but Ryan Wilson is right on his tail. It seems like Crow is getting in range of Jake Feemster.
It looks like Crow has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
Every move counts now as David Zahn works to reel in Crow and overtake for P6. It's not going to plan for David Zahn, who is trailing behind Crow and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Things are heating up as Ryan Wilson closes in on Stefano Amadei. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown. Hold on a second. A brilliant maneuver from Crow, who has just moved up the field.
It's a battle for position as Crow tries to make a move on Feemster. This is what racing is all about.
Tough break for Crow, who has just lost a position. Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Stefano Amadei in fourth and Jake Feemster. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.4 seconds. David Zahn has the pedal to the metal chasing Crow.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
Oh, this is getting intense. Jake Feemster is just a few car lengths behind Stefano Amadei. It looks like Stefano Amadei is pulling away from Jake Feemster. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through the S's.
This is where the mental toughness of Feemster comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
Crow is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
This is where every inch counts. Crow is pushing hard to close the gap on Feimster. Absolutely. Precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Things are heating up as Stefano Amodei tries to close the gap to Jake Feimster.
The racing is getting tight between Stefano and Feimster as they battle for P4. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement Crow's legendary status.
Should things go awry, Crow and Zahn might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
Simon of the Desert is giving it his all, chasing down Crow in P7. It's not looking good for Simon of the Desert, who is still behind Crow and the gap is increasing. It looks like David Zahn is in control. He's ahead of Crow by over a second, and it doesn't look like he's going to be challenged anytime soon.
Crow is certainly pushing all he can, but the gap might be too much. Unless Zahn makes a mistake, it looks like he'll hold on to 6th.
Crow wants to find a way round David Zahn.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
They're going for the same piece of tarmac. Sparks are flying as they battle for position, daring each other to brake later and go deeper into the corners. Hold that thought. It's true what they say, Ada, you're never completely useless.
Indeed, Hal, you can always be used as a bad example. Absolutely. He'll need to rethink the strategy and come up with something new, or else risk losing even more ground. On the other hand, Crow has been making some impressive moves and looks like a serious contender.
Oh, this is getting intense. Malero is just behind Simon of the Desert.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tire barrier kind, and that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
We're watching Stefano Amodei in 6th, and is currently being hounded by Crow with a gap of just 0.2 seconds. He's pulling away. Stefano Amodei is increasing the gap to Crow. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Crow is chasing Stefano Amodei in P6.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
Stefano Amodei is running 6th, and trying to catch David Zahn. Good news for Stefano Amodei, the gap to David Zahn has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
This is a thrilling battle as Malero edges closer to Simon of the Desert in their fight for P8.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Malero close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Stefano Amodei is placed 6th at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Crow, who is 0.3 seconds behind.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Crow to make up that gap, especially with Stefano defending so well.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. Crow is looking to close the 0.3 second gap and make a pass.
Ryan Wilson is on a mission, chasing Sketty, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Crow seems to be putting the pressure on Stefano Amodei. Stop the press. Big gains for Crow as they move up the field, leaving Stefano Amodei behind.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Crow needs to keep driving with focus and intensity. There is no room for error in this battle.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Stefano Amodei is breathing down the neck of Crow, not giving him any room to relax. Hold the phone. Superb driving from Stefano Amodei, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Impressive. Stefano is really showing his skill and determination out there.
Oh dear, Stefano Amodei has dropped down to 7th.
Definitely, but Stefano is a skilled driver, and has what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
Malero is looking for a way round Simon of the Desert.
And Malero is poised to capitalize on any mistake. It's just a matter of who cracks first.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. The pursuit is on. Simon of the Desert is closing the gap on Stefano Amadei, determined to claim P7.
With just 0.5 seconds between them, Simon will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
Look at that, Ryan Wilson is hot on the tail of Kevin Lekmanski.
The mental game is just as important here. Ryan must keep his cool while putting pressure on Lekmanski.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Simon of the Desert is closing in on Stefano Amadei. It seems like Simon of the Desert has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Stefano Amadei's lap time there. Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Wilson is just a few car lengths behind Kevin Lekmanski.
Ryan needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Kevin.
The crowd is on its feet as Simon of the Desert chases down Stefano Amadei through Juxque's sweep. Wait, and Simon of the Desert has just won the place from Stefano Amadei.
Absolutely how, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Simon can't afford to get complacent. You know what they say, keep your friends close, and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Simon is taking that advice to heart today.
The action is non-stop as Stefano Amadei shadows Simon of the Desert through every twist and turn, determined to claim 7th.
It's a battle of nerves now. Stefano and Simon are both pushing hard, but need to avoid mistakes that might cost them time or positions.
The adrenaline is pumping as Malero gets within striking distance of Stefano Amadei in their race for 8th. The pressure is really on for Stefano Amadei in 8th as Malero is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. Stop the press. It's looking good for Malero, who has gained a place after passing Stefano Amadei.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see. This battle between Malero and Stefano is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
The pressure is on as Ryan Wilson tries to catch up to Kevin Lekmanski.
Wilson is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder like a boss.
Things are heating up as David Zahn tries to close the gap to Sketty.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Zahn should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Sketty.
Looks like Ryan Wilson is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Every move counts now as David Zahn works to reel in Sketty and overtake for P4. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Ryan Wilson is chasing Kevin Lekmanski in P1. The gap between Ryan Wilson and Kevin Lekmanski is getting smaller.
That's a great effort from Wilson. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
It looks like Sketty is all over David Zahn going through Crowthorne Corner, increasing the pressure and hoping for a mistake.
For sure, Hal. That's exactly what I would be doing here, as Dave is going to be aware of him riding his bumper.
The race is really heating up. Crow is hunting down Sketty with everything he's got. Ryan Wilson is giving it his all chasing down Kevin Lekmanski in P1.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Wilson needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Kevin Lekmanski could be looking for a way up the inside of Ryan Wilson.
He'll need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much grass will slow you down.
Crow wants to close that gap with Sketty.
If Crow gets too close, he might end up taking the paint off.
Kevin Lekmansky is looking for an opportunity to get around Ryan Wilson.
It looks like Lekmansky has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
The battle for P5 is heating up as Crow tries to catch Sketty in P5. Kevin Lekmansky is running second and trying to catch Ryan Wilson.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
It seems like Kevin Lekmansky is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of Ryan Wilson.
Hopefully Lekmansky can find some of that missing time and get it back.
Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners, it's like they're on rails. Hold on a moment. What a move. Kevin Lekmansky has moved up to first.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
All joking aside, I bet they were. Things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
Ryan Wilson has just put in a faster lap than Kevin Lekmansky, so that's going to give him something to worry about. Jake Feemster is running third, and trying to keep up with Ryan Wilson.
Feemster is really hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder. He's riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
Ryan Wilson is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Ryan is really walking that fine line.
The gap between Ryan Wilson and Kevin Lekmansky is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is not ideal for Ryan, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Jake Feemster is closing in on Ryan Wilson. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 1967. Jake Feemster is on a mission, chasing Ryan Wilson, who's currently got a comfortable lead. Jake Feemster appears to be losing ground on Ryan Wilson. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Liukop Bend to get a good exit and gain some ground. If everything goes as planned, this is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
While Ryan Wilson is not under immediate threat from Jake Feemster, he can still benefit from staying focused. Any slip-up could lose him the position.
That's very true, and Jake knows that as well. He's got to drive his own race and wait for Wilson to make a mistake to have any chance of overtaking.
The pursuit is on. Jake Feemster is closing the gap on Ryan Wilson, determined to claim P2. The action is heating up here as Ryan Wilson is in second, defending from Jake Feemster, who is only 0.4 seconds away.
Surely he's got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
Some great driving from Ryan Wilson, who has increased his lead over Jake Feemster and is starting to put some distance between them.
That's a really strong performance from Wilson. He's not giving Feemster any chances to catch up.
The pursuit is on. Jake Feemster is working on that gap to Ryan Wilson, determined to claim P2. Looking at the lap times, Jake Feemster is not currently on pace with Ryan Wilson. Maybe he'll get a chance to see where to make up some time. The gap between Ryan Wilson and Jake Feemster may be wide, but that doesn't mean Ryan Wilson is safe. He's got to maintain concentration and avoid any lapses in performance. Ryan Wilson could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than Jake Feemster.
We will have to see if Feemster has got any answers for that.
Look at that, Jake Feemster is hot on the tail of Ryan Wilson.
We'll have to wait to see if Feemster can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
Jake Feemster is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Ryan Wilson at the moment.
This is a tough situation for Feemster. He'll need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at ASRL. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. Ryan Wilson is on a mission, chasing Kevin Lekmansky, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It seems like Ryan Wilson has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Kevin Lekmansky's lap time there. The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Wilson is just a few car lengths behind Kevin Lekmansky. Ryan Wilson has just put in a faster lap than Kevin Lekmansky, so that's going to give him something to worry about. What do you think, Ada? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race? Hold the phone. Looks like that's a mistake from Malero. This could be costly.
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
And there it is. Kevin Lekmansky has completed the race in first place, setting a blistering pace that none of the other drivers could match.
What a result for Lekmansky. He'll be absolutely thrilled with that performance, and rightly so. He really put in the work and it's paid off in spades.
Ryan Wilson takes second place with a fantastic race. Well done to Jake Feemster for securing third place on the podium.
Great job bringing it home.
David Zahn, Sketty, Simon of the Desert, and Stefano Amadei take 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 8th, 9th, and 10th sees Crow, Malero, and Bjorn Hemmen. Malero is in the pits.